Welcome back to the show. John Riggio joining us again today, our pro tennis player, architect, friend, author, you name it. He does it. How are you doing today? And I'm excited. We're going to go back a little to tennis.
Hi, Jill. How are you? Everything's okay here. Today, I was able to get a plaque of that top 100. They sent a very nice plaque to me. This is the whole thing, the picture of it right here.
Oh my
So
gosh,
this is the
beautiful.
magazine top 100 Innovators and Entrepreneurs. This is a really nice plaque here. So this is really good, and the stories I've been talking about for tennis and architect work all come from my book here. My own court, The Life Story of Tennis Legend John Riggio. It's easy to buy on the internet. You just go on there to all the different stores they have, and you can get a paperback, you can get a hard copy, you can get an ebook and read it. It's really great. So today I'm going to continue on some entertainment friends, part 5. I have more things to talk about. This is really amazing. And so the book, in fact, is sort of I kept it really simple. It's sort of like, say, a lot of stories like an after school show. And sort of some of the last recent podcasts, a little more detailed. I didn't put them in the book. I don't want people to concern themselves with all these different stories. But if you like entertainment stories is really good to watch.
Yeah.
So so from the last stories, um, my entertainment friend Liz I had going all the way back to Sutton's Tennis Center, a multi-million-dollar contract. And so in fact, she is okay someplace. I was able to locate her, and she's sort of out of the public for now. Seems to have changed her. And but in fact, the original name that she was using for a while, Elizabeth Doss, in fact, that wasn't even her family name. Her family name is a little different. It's like Kraswolka. It's their heritage comes from Croatia in Europe. But she had that name, and I think the whole her life was involved with some very interesting things of what she's doing there. That is really like some kind of thing that they have because of some problems she had when she was younger. And but what happened was from those stories, particularly with my name, is I had to use my name. So at the time of the sudden niece, I had told the stories of when she was outside the tennis center and we were still friends. And so this thing with me getting married her became really real. I called up to the local marriage department to get married at that age, and it was saying we're too young. They said even if we get married, we're still under the parents, and it wouldn't solve her problems because I raised this thing of the mother's willing to let me get married for $10,000, and so there was some serious pressures going on for her and myself. And I think some things got worse because this thing with her with having to get into the adult industry caused this name where she was using the name Bob was part of something with the foreign marriage. It was not really truthful thing that was happening to her. So she was using my name for a while. I was letting her buy things and everything. And that was really good. I think there was a little frustration that calling around trying to do this thing really didn't just break through to solve her problem. And then she started to get encounter those other things I told about where she had to end up returning back to Cleveland, Ohio. Her mother came to pick her up because she was in the hospital. And so I think also the marriage, they suggested we could even get married in Pennsylvania, but the strangest things happened. But they said we couldn't get married in Pennsylvania um, because she was claiming that the people who were, or when she was very young, was kidnapped, was active in West Virginia, where she initially had the problem, and in Pennsylvania. So this only left us with a little bit of options, and the thing was getting married on Long Island, New York. It wasn't going to solve all of our problems. But this was very frustrating. And so instead of breaking right through all the problems, we really couldn't. And that was really a sad story. And so I think the most present time here was, even though I was talking about Liz a lot, I was talking about some other entertainers, I want to talk about what happened to me. Even though I was doing all these nice things with Terry and Liz, and some other names I'm going to talk about today, I really got penalized bad. For instance, the story with Terry, who was really nice, met her over at her apartment. Her apartment was really watched because since she was a young teen in New York City, it was sort of like a group apartment. And so by not listening to my sponsors, and at the time Gloria Vanderbilt was my sponsor, caused some problems. They penalized one tournament, which is a lot. That's equivalent to like $100,000. And they even did a really cool thing, had someone else play the tournament instead. I think the only lucky thing is he didn't win any matches, so he couldn't take over or anything. So instead of going after another kind of penalty, they really went right for the tennis, which is a hard penalty. And I thought it wasn't such a smart penalty because if my sponsor isn't going to make any money, they can lose money. So not only do I miss out on buy $100,000 for the tournament and all kinds of other things, they are losing out on getting money. But in fact, when it came to doing anything outside the tennis center, I did a little quick calculation, thinking I didn't want to listen to what my sponsor says. I felt that they couldn't tell me if I can go out with Terry, and maybe I was wrong. But what happens is after that, even after the penalty, I still went back over to Terry's apartment a few times. And I went back there until the person that watches the house ended up chasing me down the street. And I ended up leaving and I didn't go back again. And then Terry was really a lot like me. She didn't have any cell phone yet. She used to call over to my house, and I didn't have a cell phone yet. And it was difficult to communicate. Whenever I called over to her apartment house, no one would answer the phone. They didn't have an answering machine. It was really very simple. So those funny things were happening at that time. Um, Now, what happened with Liz is that a whole thing was happening with Liz. I first said that my sponsors didn't know about me doing things with Liz outside the tennis center. It eventually did get exposed, and I think maybe it was my mother because I think my sponsor Gloria Vanderbilt might have called home, might have talked to my mother, and she knew about Liz. And in fact, my mother even talked to Liz's mother a number of times on the phone too, since everything was coming through that fashion main line. This was happening. So the problem is me and Liz, we had it really stacked against us. My mother didn't help at all. She acted really very like a devil all of a sudden. Her, Liz's mother acted like a devil, did not do anything. And Miss Vanderbilt did not approve our marriage. She did not approve us going out on the side, did not do anything outside the tennis center. In fact, Liz originally went into the tennis center. She snuck in. She wasn't even a listed entertainer. So initially, when I met her, she wasn't even listed as an entertainer. So this was became really horrible, and this amounted to me getting penalized really bad. My Gloria Vanderbilt really penalized me 3 tournaments and some other kinds of things, and she threatened to fight keep helping Liz. She's got to cancel my contract just over talking to Liz, making friends with her. Very innocent. We weren't doing anything strange. It's very simple. She used to get married for real. She was even using my name around town. She forget about those foreign things. And unfortunately, everything was stacked against us. And someone even called up her people who were like those people trying to really hold her, like in a cult like group, to come over and try to grab her back. It
Ah,
really was horrible. So what happened was with Miss Vanderbilt, I sort of explained I don't want to listen outside because I made friends with her on my own, but it's like I didn't know what to say about it. Is somehow with entertainment, she's able to control what people are doing together. It
Yeah.
wasn't like in college or something. It was not the same. It was completely different. Somehow she was able to control that. And I sort of started to understand.
Yeah.
I said she was doing it for my well-being and also for her. She didn't want to have problems that something was going to happen, and she didn't want anything to happen to me because it's like she did not approve of my relationship with Liz. And so I got these penalties, and I didn't really think that much about it. I sort of didn't want Liz to also fall into homelessness and get killed and die. That would
Oh,
really
yeah.
not really sound too happy. So I think this whole thing, her getting back home, was okay. The penalty is the same idea. Three tournaments, $100,000, $300,000. If she
Mm-hmm.
has someone else plays them, then could start losing money. So I think the penalties coming on my tournaments were really hard. I don't think that was the smartest penalty. Maybe they could have taken that black Mercedes Benz and brought it back early or something. That was a small, simple penalty. I
Yeah.
don't know, but the penalty not playing tournaments was going right after my playing and her income.
Mm-hmm.
I think admitting to it later that wasn't the best penalty. I think maybe someone proposed that to her to do that. Maybe it was a trick to fool someone to stop my playing, and then she gets penalized. Everyone gets penalized
Yeah.
just because making friends with some, which is what the idea was in the start, was to make friends with them. And so that was really interesting. But I think the issue also of getting permission to get married was a very interesting idea for this. Just because of entertainment, I was married before. My girlfriends never needed permission to do. I built up a little frustration from, and I called the government office about this. And I asked them, and they sort of looked at Liz's situation and my situation, and they said exactly the opposite. They said they want me married to Liz. That's preferred marriage. They really want Liz to marry me. They want me to marry Liz.
Mm-hmm.
Completely opposite point of view. Doing things, making friends with Liz, going out with her, that she, my girlfriend, was completely normal as far as they're concerned. So that was the only support we had. And I think that was really very interesting. And I was just reviewing some of the times. I think me and Liz had went to this thing of starting to get into a marriage ceremony like about 10 times. So this is so the things were stacked against us with entertainment. In fact, one thing I was just remembering, I was looking at some of the playing the things that were happening, and well, one of them was so she was turning down the approval for marriage for me with Liz, but some other of the entertainers she was approving, and I'll talk
Mm-hmm.
about one of them in a few minutes. With this thing with Liz, also, I went to this thing with telling her I was approved to go to Yale University, and I called Yale. This tells me if I go to Yale, she doesn't have to go with the form. I get the approval from Yale to go to the school and bring Liz with me. In the meantime, Liz's mother calls some people who were part of like a cult of porn, and sort of she started to get put down. And this is before she ended up in the hospital and went into the coma. So this was an interesting point. So this was a really, not only getting married, but we're already going all the way to Connecticut now together. I mean, this is a really very interesting story. And you have been approved the whole marriage therapy. So that was very interesting. So which is pretty sad. And then I think as far as the permission to get married, also went extended also at one point with that networking. Now with the networking, I talked about the story that I was in networking, VIP, networking, and Liz, and she had like an organization of people there. Uh, it resulted into some kind of idea that this organizer wanted people to get married.
Yeah.
Now, I think here she was getting put together with this other kid, who was in the networking party. I proposed to her to get married to me, and she said yes. So we went over to the organizer, and she said no. She says she does not want me to marry Liz either. She does not want me. For some reason, there's an incompatibility in my opinion. She did not approve of it. So Liz ended up
Aw.
leaving the room and being that she's forced to do something with someone else again. And
Yeah.
I think even her organizer were making fun of her at that point too. So what they did at that point was they gave me someone else to marry. Who
Wow.
they gave me to marry, her name is Kate. Oh, have
Oh,
you ever been to Target?
I love Target.
If you go to Target in the sport, you ever go to Target in the sporting goods? You see sporting goods department,
Yeah.
and you see like the athletic clothes,
Yeah.
and you see there's a nice lady there, young lady called Cassie Ho. That is who they wanted me to marry.
Oh my gosh.
Now Cassie Ho, I know her going back to the same tennis center. She is
Mm-hmm.
another one. She's an entertainment. She was in California. Let me show share this. I have her biography over here. Okay, I have it here.
Sure.
Okay, so this is Casey Ho. So she really isn't as young as as I know her. She's only
Mm-hmm.
8 years younger, nearly 18 years younger than me. So what happens is I know her also from the years talking to her that she was one of the over there in San Francisco. So it matches her biography. And I know her also as someone who designs clothing. She was working for the clothes company Shen for many years. She told
Mm-hmm.
me stories of how she used to test, making designs all day long. She wasn't running around. She was working, doing a lot of things. And so I think recently I noticed this. My daughter taught me how to use the Instagram. Because I
Uh-huh.
was talking to her to use for social media. I was using Instagram. So I signed up and I saw Casey Ho there, and then she is doing this thing with the let me just get the exact name of what it is. Bio Blogilates and Popflex. So she has these two brands
Okay.
in the right target stores. And I see her blog online. Now, I think for a number of years now, I didn't want to say her name on these podcasts. But I think recently I see her blog and she went to Japan. She went on
Wow.
vacation, exactly vacation, the one with the busy and all the different things. She went on the same tour. And unfortunately, I noticed that she had a little problem on the tour. She had a problem snorkeling. It came to like a near-death experience. So I think since something like that happened, I'm just gonna talk about her name at this time. Uh, so she, in fact, so she went to Japan. Interesting, which is good. I think she was just noticing that it was her first trip to Japan. She hasn't been there before. And of course, last year during the summer, I was there in Japan, the same exact location, playing tennis with Riggio from Japan. So then, so she has her bio here, but she's doing so good with that clothing design. And I know the inside story about her. She's a very nice lady. I got to know her. Didn't really
Mm-hmm.
get that involved with her. Just went on a few times. Let me see what we have here. So this just shows her story.
Mm-hmm.
So this here shows all the different things about her. And this is her picture.
Oh,
And the one thing
beautiful.
about her is that she is sort of like a little
Wow.
doppelganger to
Mm-hmm.
Liz. Liz is in fact look exactly like her, but she's tall. She's around like 5'6" inches,
Mm-hmm.
which is like my wife was 5'6". Like my wife is a little more like Jennifer Lopez.
Yes.
And
Yes. I see that.
in fact, my wife was like Jennifer Lopez, acts similar, personality similar. I think Casey Hill is very nice, but she is sort of larger and really has a very nice resume. Went to college, did all kinds of excellent things here. She's an amazing designer. And so I think she was also behind all these designs too. She wasn't just a media personality. From what she told me for years, she was designing clothes, and I knew her pretty good. So at a number of times in this whole thing with the, let me just stop it here, they kept putting me together with Casey Ho. Liz, they did not, but they put me together with Casey Ho a number of times. Now, the one thing about Casey Ho, she's very nice, get along pretty good. She already has like a husband or like a steady male partner with her from the time she was very young. Since I was like 19, 20 years old, I met her, and she has always had someone. And that is the guy that you might see in her advertisements on Instagram. He's been there for so many years. So whenever we got to this thing about getting married, she was already eligible for marriage, he tells me. And I think that there was an
Wow.
organization going from the start to end with me and Casey Ho. I have no problem with that. I never forced her to get married, but they kept matching me with Casey Ho, and uh, which is very interesting. Even at the thing with the networking party, even someone who was removed from tennis doesn't necessarily know who I am. Media put me with Casey Ho for this type of arrangement. I think this kind of marriage arrangement was somehow a lucky afternoon, like it was like one of those churches that put people together to get married somehow. And they put me together with Casey Ho, and I know her. And the same exact story is coming out that she has someone, and he was right there also. She always points out that he's always around. Um, she does not need to really get any married. So that is really very interesting. The only problem is they really put it down on me and Liz with the same kind of story because she was sort of like following along with the same which is really interesting. And I think one interesting thing is also at this point, I think when I didn't listen to my sponsors and went out with like Terry, went out with Liz, they at the end they didn't say I was wrong not to. What happens is by helping out Liz in particular, they noticed I made her much stronger. She was able to stand much better, and Miss Gloria Vanderbilt, she commented saying that I really did amazing work to help her to stand tall. And the only thing about that is I think this sort of got ordered around a little. That is our problem. So there were some problems with that. I think also I wanted to correct something. When I was talking to her mother, my mother was even talking to her mother on the phone. I always used to call her mama, and I think this was working pretty good with her. But her mother was very. You realize what's happening here. I didn't say what's going on, but she was like a widow at that time. Like my mother was, her mother was a widow too. But she was very difficult to listen. And but she was trying to do something, get in there and help her out. I think that was one interesting thing that was happening.
Yeah.
And so I think this thing also with the matching Casey Ho instead of Liz was went all the way to Leona Helmsley. So when I was older, this is like 10 years later. It's in the year 1998.
Yeah.
And Leona Helmsley, she was able to buy my contract and was really in partnership with Reebok, Adidas, and Mitsubishi was still a silent, became more of like a silent partner in this whole thing. And of course, my contract was going way up, way past $120 million, and going up, I think it was like $140 million. And then this is Miss Leona Helms, she really wanted to get me in my marriage, and she
Wow.
ultimately matched me with Casey Ho again.
Go figure.
But the same exact story was happening. Casey Ho, in the same time, was not really eligible
Mm-hmm.
for a real marriage. It had the same exact story that she really had someone as her
Yeah.
mate to marry and things like that. So I'm not the one who picked uh, her to do it. But this is one person that is really like news. Everyone sees her in the Target store, the pictures there, and that's very nice. But she was never eligible for marriage. She always had someone that she was getting married,
Mm-hmm.
and this is one really interesting thing. Um, I think it's the thing that was
Yep.
happening. I think one thing about someone would say, why would this relationship with Liz take hold? There's so many people against it, and you figure why would she stick around
Aw.
and everything. And the because she fell in love with me,
Yeah.
and of course I returned the same to her. So I think that was one thing that took place over the number of years, and this sort of
Uh-huh.
with Liz
Oh.
continued on. Um, they claim they had a better match. But I think one problem was this was also whoever was organizing this, the group of people, it didn't culminate into really so perfect to connect everyone together. But that's really what happened.
Got
I
it.
wasn't the one who put it together.
Yeah.
So
All right.
whoever was
Oop.
putting it together
We are out
wasn't
of
so
time,
perfect.
John. We got 30 seconds left. Sorry, sorry, sorry. We got to finish up.
I think the only one provision uh, about this is really maybe other people like if like from Europe, the tennis players from Europe, tennis coaches from Europe and other countries around the world that I play with, if they heard this story, they might think it's funny. They might think that something wasn't
Yeah.
going as good because they used to play American players who were a little on their own. The chances of them collecting on all the gifts and everything were sort of might not get that. And so this is something that might not have done, but not some perfect. But otherwise, it was put together pretty good. The idea of going together with the entertainment is pretty common today, and I think I did get a lot out of it.
All right.
Everything wasn't 100% as I explained, but otherwise things were pretty good. And I think everyone sees them like in the papers and everything. They hear about entertainers
All
playing
right.
together and things like that.
All
Really
right.
what the
John,
story is.
website quick before we go. JohnRiggio.com.
Yes, www.johnriggio.com, and you can go to Facebook and other media I have online for John Riggio Pro Tennis Player on Facebook.
Perfect. Thank you.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.